and maybe this is related to why I'm having problems, is I think I've figured out the Facebook live stream. I'm going to try and simultaneously put it as a live stream on Facebook, unless anybody has any reasons not to. Okay, this is your time. You can say no. Otherwise, otherwise, I'm having whatever my problems are. Here we go. And I can hit the button now. We'll see if that works. See it. We could be out there on Facebook right now. Well, this is Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions here for the San Carlos Computer Club. How are you guys doing? Everybody's good? Happy smiling faces? Well. Everybody's doing well? You've brought topics. I don't see Linda at the moment, but she was having us discuss phone, Wi-Fi phone. Oh, Sid's joining us. Hey, Sid. We are just getting started. I was just introducing our group.
How you doing today?
Doing good. Having some technical issues on my side. But in case you're curious, we are also trying to do a live stream on Facebook this morning, and I'm hoping it's not the reason I'm having other technical problems.
Scott, are you doing it on your page or on the Computer Club page?
It should be the Computer Club page.
I'm not finding it.
Well, maybe it would show up as a notification in Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on your page.
It definitely says we're live at the moment. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's just a test. I didn't want to do anything formal. I just wanted to see if it would work. I seem to be having some bandwidth issues on my end that I'm having trouble sorting out. Which is strange because I seem to have an insane amount of internet, but I don't think that it's steady internet. So, getting back to Linda's question, we were talking about, I guess there wasn't a formal question, but it was more in the form of using Wi-Fi calling. She's on AT&T on her Wi-Fi network, and she's missing some of her calls. Hey, Linda, can you pull your camera down just a hair so we can see your smiling face? Awesome.
Can you see me?
Yeah. We were missing you. So are you able to narrow it down to specific phone calls, or is it random?
It's random. I went into CenturyLink last night and tried to do a couple things that I saw on to make sure the cell phone was all, connected and all that. But people call me and then they say that it just rings and rings and nobody answers, and I never have the ringing because I don't have a home phone, so I'm relying on my cell. And the Magic Jack. And the Magic Jack works fine. So it's either something to do with my cell.
Cheryl, did you want to add something in? I saw your hand up.
I'm waving at myself on Facebook Live.
Oh, you can see yourself?
I found it on Facebook Live.
Oh,
I just searched Computer Club Live and it came up. So,
where is it, Cheryl?
it's right there.
This is the episode where we find out that we're all a bunch of narcissists and we're just sitting here watching ourselves on Facebook. I'm just happy it's working. That's great. So, Linda, I think what I would do to try and sort out the kind of problem you're having is probably go to another Wi-Fi connection. Go over to a friend's house and connect there. I mean, well, first in your house, I guess I would determine that some phone numbers that aren't working, like use your Magic Jack to call your phone and see if that comes through. If that's coming through, then I'm afraid you're trying various numbers. You're asking a sister to call or a brother to call or a son to call, somebody to help you test it because your Magic Jack seems to work.
Right.
Maybe try a Skype phone number. But when you can
Who
narrow
are
it,
you going to call?
when you who are you gonna call? When you can narrow it down to a specific number that you know is not coming through, then I would do that test from another Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
This is really...
The problem here, it's really Verizon country.
Say that again?
The problem here, it's really Verizon country.
Yeah. It just seems like what is happening, if I understand it right, is when you're off the network, and so all your calls need to be forwarded to your phone. Your phone needs to be on a different network, in this case the Wi-Fi network. And so your phone has to be identified correctly as a route for AT&T to switch to. Hey, do you sort of have AT&T coverage? Or just absolutely don't? Like, you don't have an AT&T signal popping in and out?
No,
You have nothing like that?
not in the house, and I have to go way out in the street to get it.
Well, you know, on that note, you might just try turning off your cell data. You might just turn it off, the cell network. Kind of like, I know, airplane mode with Wi-Fi on. That's what I'm talking about. And that would force the phone to forget that it's a cell phone and stay persistent on the Wi-Fi. And then do your tests.
I have the mobile data off.
Well, it'd be like airplane mode. That's why I use that terminology. Is you want to turn off your connection to your cell network, and then do your tests and see if that makes any difference. Maybe what's happening, maybe you're not getting an icon that's telling you, or an indicator that it's telling you, but maybe what's happening is you're faintly touching your cell network enough that AT&T is not routing your calls as reliably as they should. Like maybe it has a timestamp that you were on the cell recent enough that it's continuing to try and use that cell instead of... And this is pure speculation. I sure have no idea what's going on. I'm just trying to help you narrow down where the problem exists. And
well, I'm trying to find where the
well, again, I think what would be a quick way to do it is just put it into airplane mode, and then turn.
Oh, okay.
And then turn on Wi-Fi. And some of the Android phones, you'll find icons for turning off your cell, mobile cell. Those are two different words I've seen in the toolbars that pop down. Yeah, Cheryl, yours is easy. You've got an iPhone, right?
Yeah, I've got an iPhone, and I'm looking at under settings, under cellular. You can turn on cellular data and have roaming on, but down the bottom, AT&T Wi-Fi calling, I've got it turned off.
Yes. If you turned it on, then your phone would float between your cell network and your Wi-Fi network. The idea being that you're in a spotty area, and it should be moving between those two networks, and your call should be able to swap between those two.
Yeah, it had a long paragraph about enable Wi-Fi calling ? When you join a network, the country where your network connection is made may be sent to your carrier. Anyways, because I'm not in the country of the phone.
Well, if you have free roaming in Canada with AT&T, right?
Yeah, in Mexico. And I've used my AT&T phone in Mexico and never had the problems that Linda's having.
Well, and really, Wi-Fi calling would only be ideal if you're in an area that has patchy cell phone service, or you're in an area that you're paying for roaming. Like, you could have a cheap cell phone plan, put Wi-Fi calling on it, and then bring it to any Wi-Fi point in the world and theoretically be able to make phone calls without being on any of the cell networks. And also, Cheryl, since you have an iPhone, the experiment that I was describing is a very easy one to do. If you just swipe up your tools there's a button both for airplane mode and for Wi-Fi mode. And so you can just hit the airplane and then hit Wi-Fi, and you're in that scenario I was describing for testing.
So turn airplane on and Wi-Fi off?
No, when you turn airplane mode on, it will automatically turn off Wi-Fi. So then you have to tap it to turn it back on.
Yeah, and it turns off the Bluetooth.
Yeah, all your radios get turned off in airplane mode. So you're right, Bluetooth as well.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I turned the airplane mode on, and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth stayed on.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
interesting, because mine went off.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a glitch or a feature.
Oh, right beside the airplane is a green. That's the Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're good?
Okay, Wi-Fi went off, but Bluetooth and speaker stayed on.
Are you connected to a speaker? No, that seems weird. I wonder if that's a glitch or a feature with Apple. I mean, I can imagine Apple being intuitive enough to set an airplane mode where you're like, leave my Bluetooth running. But, or maybe because they've decided to drop the headphone jack, maybe they've decided to make it optional whether Bluetooth gets turned off or not.
Right.
But I'm more likely, in my experience, to assume that's not the normal way it works, and it's probably a glitch. And if you turn off and turn back on your phone, you may find it acts differently.
Oh. Like if you turn off your phone, you're going to turn everything back on, and the airplane mode will be off.
Yeah, like if you do a reboot to your phone, whatever the glitch is, probably will go away. And then when you hit airplane mode, both Wi-Fis will turn off, or all three antennas will turn off.
All right, well, I'll try this and see how it works.
Well, and again, I think you ought to get to another Wi-Fi provider, even if it's like a cyber cafe or some. Well, yeah, I mean, use your best common sense with security, but somebody else's Wi-Fi, like a friend's Wi-Fi, get on that and see and test your calls. I think it's really important you need to make sense of the nonsensical. And so I think that what's nonsensical right now is which phone numbers have problems. Are they all of them, or are they certain phone numbers? So you want to really, really dial in on that idea first. Because if the difference is just the phone number, then you're probably looking at an AT&T issue. Right? Because it would be incoming calls from a specific location or a set of specific locations that are definitely getting routed incorrectly. And if you can narrow down on those calls that aren't working on your Wi-Fi, then I'd go over to a friend's Wi-Fi and try and do the same calls just to take CenturyLink out of the equation. Because even though it's separate phone numbers, you've got some phone numbers that work and some phone numbers that don't, that doesn't necessarily pull CenturyLink out of the problem until you've moved to another location and tried the same test. And then in that other location, say all the phone numbers work, well, then you know it's a CenturyLink issue. Whether you have any control over fixing that or not, I couldn't tell you. But at least you know where to cast the blame and to start looking for resolution. If it is a CenturyLink problem, then you probably find AT&T and CenturyLink problems out there on the internet and people's solutions to those problems.
Yeah, did you know that AT&T owns CenturyLink now?
Oh, that's wonderful. So doesn't that obfuscate the problem, right? You've got they're owned by the same parent company, but what do you want to bet they have very little interaction with each other? They probably operate completely independent. Say again?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, staying with the theme from last week, I just wanted to ask if anybody has any recommendations for ways to spend our lockdown time. I'm enjoying coming up with new content. I personally have nothing new for this week. Well, unless, of course, you're into H.P. Lovecraft ideas. Oh, Sid's here. Maybe he wants to know. I was going to mention this on our chat the other day, Sid, but we've just started watching this Lovecraft Country on HBO. And if you're into that kind of stuff, I thoroughly enjoyed it. We actually binged the whole series in a number of 2 days.
No, it's pretty good. The first few episodes. Yeah, it drifts from the book a lot.
Oh, you've read the book?
Yeah, I've read the book.
Would y'all repeat the series?
Lovecraft County?
Country.
I'm sorry. Lovecraft Country. And the premise in the show, and Sid can tell us if it's different in the book, but the premise in the show is that these stories are all taking place around the areas that H.P. Lovecraft lived and worked.
Well, they go up to a part. They're looking for a city that's in the literature, and it's spelled a little different how they figure it out. There's not an incredible amount to do with Lovecraft's writings. They throw a bunch of names and titles and stuff in there, but the story's really good.
Yeah, if you go ahead.
I've actually talked to the writer online. I'm a geek. I play Call of Cthulhu role-playing games, so I go online and do this kind of stuff. But I've actually talked to the writer, the guy who wrote the book. He also worked with another guy, and they wrote a Harlem supplement to the game, which is way, way cool the way they did it. And they covered all the history and everything and tied it into the literature. But
Sid, isn't it true? I don't know how many of you are fans of Lovecraft, but what he really did was created an extended universe. He was like one of the first extended universe creators out there. Am I wrong in saying that, or is that a correct way to describe it?
Open source. He basically set up the him and a bunch of writers he knew, just kind of, hey, this is a nice idea, we're going to play with this, and went with it. Very unpopular back then. And
so you had a variety of sci-fi writers that had chosen to write and have their characters live in this same continuity.
Yeah.
It included cultures and mythos and creatures, all within the same realm. So the idea that this book was written is very much in an H.P. Lovecraftian style, right? The idea that they would write something like this is well within that world that he was trying to create. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Well, they have incredible special effects, and there have been a couple of jump scares. If you're not an H.P. Lovecraft fan, you should know he's a horror writer at his heart.
Well, it's a different kind of horror. He referred to it as cosmic horror. It's you're very small in the universe and you don't matter kind of fear from turn of the century, 1920s.
The ease at which a character can be killed off in this TV show really reflects that ethos.
The game, you make 6 characters, and then by the end of it, you might have one left.
Well, this is a show on HBO. I've been watching it on Streamio. I recommend it if you're into that genre stuff. I think it's great. Does anybody else? Is there anybody that'd like to add something? A book, an audio book, a podcast, something that's missing from our lives?
No, but you guys got me hooked on Hell on Wheels. And then we tried to get Yellowstone, but on Prime, but you have to pay for it. Where did you all watch it?
Well, Prime is, I mean, you can buy it through Prime. You know, Maggie, me, I'm doing mostly everything on Streamio or Kodi.
Okay.
I'm getting it on DirecTV.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just stick with Hell on Wheels for now.
Anybody else found something interesting that they're interested in sharing?
Well, there's an old one I'm watching called Breaking Bad. It's pretty bad, too.
That is a favorite.
I look at Netflix.
Just wait, Chester. If you think it's bad now, just wait.
Yeah. What are you in the first season? Because you got a long way to go.
No, I'm on the third year.
Oh, okay. All right. It's already
Still have a
gotten.
way to go.
I heard
You're
Paul.
upside-
Yeah, what just...
Oh, you were upside down there.
My computer just did that. I didn't touch a thing.
Yeah, you flipped upside down, Maggie. Hey, I heard Paul chime in for a moment. Did you have something to recommend?
Yeah, I watch Netflix, and there's a series called the Taco Chronicles. It's all about tacos in Mexico, different varieties, different regions.
That is an awesome recommendation. My wife has been watching that, and it's just amazing the different style tacos that are available and the history behind them.
Oh.
They go through the different generations. They go to a taqueria, and you hear about their family and how they make these tacos, the indigenous influences and the Spanish influences on these particular tacos.
Yeah, when it comes to Sonora, then it's flour tortillas with carne asada.
Flour tortillas and carne asada, which really, I mean, makes sense for Sonora since we're really a beef state.
Right?
Taco Chronicles. Yeah, I had forgotten about that. That's a great series.
So it shows a couple of good restaurants in Hermosillo.
Did they make it? Did they make it to Guaymas?
No.
We were snubbed in the Taco Chronicles.
They don't have JJ's.
I watched a Canadian Netflix. It was called Burden of Truth, but it was a lot about racism and police corruption, but it was Canadian, and I binged the whole thing.
And you'd recommend, is it Canadian Cops? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, Canadian, but Native. Our racial injustices are more with the natives than with African American, and so this was a series, and it went for three seasons, I think. It takes place in Manitoba, which is not a very well-known state or province, and no, it was really interesting. I liked it.
So it had interactions with the natives, with Canadian natives.
Yes, the burden of truth because of a family welfare situation, which was taking children away from Native families, and basically so that the family services could get more money. Yeah, it was quite interesting. And
is it
well
a
done.
true story? I seem to remember hearing some Canadian history about children being taken away from natives and being put into foster schools.
It is probably based on a lot of history.
Yeah.
But this is a fictionalized.
And it's modernized. It's happening in current time?
Yes.
Okay. So that sounds very interesting if you're looking for Canadian Law and Order. That's cool. I think I might check that out.
Yeah,
Anybody?
well done.
It was well done. I appreciate all
Yeah.
your recommendations. I assume that they are worth watching. And I'm going to put Burden of Truth on my list. I feel a slight kinship for Canada just because I come from a state that's attached.
Saw a good movie last night
What were you watching last night, Chester?
called Angel Eye
Angel
on Netflix.
On Netflix. If any of you are interested, I'm putting these recommendations in our meeting posts. So I'll put a link to a description with your recommendation, so you can find it on IMDb and decide whether it's something you're interested in or not. So if you find yourself looking for something interesting to watch, listen, read, look through some of our old meetings, and I'll have these recommendations right there in the posts.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we there was a number of them that were listed, and I wrote them down, and then I lost that piece of paper. So if you don't put them on your website, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make a point of it. I'm enjoying doing this, and really, when we're spending so much time not doing things, it's nice to have a list to go to. I'm looking for right now, I think this would be fun. I'm looking for a plugin for WordPress so that I can list our recommendations, and then people can come along afterwards and rank them. So I think that would be fun to be able to bring up a page and see number 1, number 2, number 3 of different categories like podcasts and TV shows and movies.
I'll give a recommendation. If Eureka, I found was very interesting.
You're reminding me, Fred, that you told me this the other day, and I didn't get it on the list. So I'm going to write it down to put on the list this time because I love Eureka. But I like silly sci-fi. I'm a big fan of silly sci-fi.
I have a question for Cheryl. Are they African Americans up in Canada or Afro Canadians?
We're all Americans, North Americans.
Okay.
That's it. That was always the big joke when I first got down here. I would ask if something was from America, and the Mexican would look at me and go, "We're all Americans."
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'll continue doing this, and you guys think about it. When we have a meeting, I'm going to ask you about what your recommendations are for our meeting. I did bring some topics. I'm happy to talk about any other topics. We've done Linda's phone. If anybody's got anything that they would like to bring up now or later, I did.
Your topics, Scott. We never seem to get to your topics until after the time is up. So how about if you tell us what you have?
Okay. Well, I just how about a quick one here? Did you guys see that Oracle apparently is going to buy TikTok?
Yes.
This is what's going to happen. I've got an article for it if you'd like a little bit of reading. It's not extended reading. In fact, it's Bloomberg, and they have a video article there you can watch. But what I found very interesting, and I don't know what to make of it, is that Microsoft's bid was wholeheartedly rejected, and Oracle was announced as TikTok's trusted tech partner. And so with everything that's going on with TikTok and this whole relationship with the United States government, it's not clear exactly what a trusted tech partner will entail or what Oracle's going to be getting. But what China has made very clear is that they are controlling the technology that's going to come out of TikTok. And so they will not be allowed to buy the algorithm. And it doesn't sound like they're going to be able to get much of the technology. I think what they're going to end up with is a user base and a front end that they're able to use and keep the data in the United States. I'm sorry, I've got some beeps going off.
I heard on the news yesterday that the federal government has banned the sale of the app, the TikTok app.
That China has?
As of Monday.
As of Monday, China has banned the app.
No,
Yeah.
the U.S. has banned the sale of TikTok app.
I ban to a United States company? Is that what you're saying?
No, it apparently can't be sold through the Amazon or through
Oh, okay.
Google.
Thank you, Chester. That's really what we're talking about. Is that
Hello.
that Trump has
Bill,
put
mute
a
yourself.
Just a minute. I got
it, if
I got things coming in both ears here.
you can do
Hang
it,
on.
Bill. Can you
I
do
can
it
do
quicker
it.
than I can do it? I just did it. You're out of here. he can still hear and watch us. We're just not listening to him. So that's actually, Chester, what's going on, and that's the reason this is interesting. If you haven't been following, Trump has decided that TikTok is a national security risk. And as funny as that sounds, there may be some truth to that. Technically, it's about as big of a security risk as any app on your phone, but it's being used as a political chess piece with China right now. And there is something. I mean, there is some merit to the idea of there are large companies collecting large amounts of data, and they are not in the United States. And China is considered a concern by the United States administration, and so there is some merit to the concern that it is a security risk. If it was an app maybe built for the San Carlos Computer Club, I'm sure Trump wouldn't be concerned. But TikTok is this generation's version of YouTube and Facebook. And so we're talking about millions, billions of people's data being tracked daily and regularly. And so that is a concern to the United States administration. And
There's
so they
another app included, but I can't remember the name of it.
there's two companies. There's another app that's included. And I'm not, it's slipping my mind as well. So on that premise, Trump gave TikTok an ultimatum and said that it would be banned from the United States by a certain date. He pushed that date farther back because there were talks of companies bidding on the U.S. portion of it. It's very, very unusual because technically that's a very challenging thing to do, to separate those databases and those offerings, and now it's going to be separating the algorithm as well. The algorithm cannot be part of it. But what you said, Chester, is true right now. I think the ultimatum is not last Monday, but this coming Monday. I think it's the 21st that it's supposed to be removed from the app stores.
That's correct.
Such as Google Play, the Amazon App Store, the Apple App Store. At the same time, some of the highest watched videos on TikTok now are how to get TikTok installed in your phone. By changing your region on your phone, apparently you can get the software installed in your phone. So if you're a TikToker in the United States and all of a sudden you need to install TikTok and it's not available in the App Store, there are people on TikTok teaching people how to switch the region of their App Store, basically putting Google Play Store in Mexico or the UK, and then downloading TikTok in that manner. Literally without getting out of their seat. So as a security concern, I think it still exists because people love TikTok. They're going to use these kinds of get-arounds to get the software installed, and that security concern will remain. And it will remain because we haven't dealt with that security concern technically as an industry. And so the ease at which TikTok can be reinstalled is going to thwart any of this as fixing a potential security problem, because it's really the want of use of that application and in its native form. all of these TikTokers, it's hard to imagine that they are going to use a US version of TikTok. Maybe if that's where everything's coming from. We have seen that in industry. I've seen the argument for it in my worlds in the industry. They've referenced things like emissions controls and how California can really dictate how a car is built in the United States because of its control over that market. And so maybe I've seen that used as an example of how TikTok could be bought by the United States. And because the majority of people are interested in TikTokers from the United States, that it's reasonable to think that this could get pulled off. I tend to think that software technology is not equivalent to automobile technology or other technologies. Just the sheer ease at which people will float platforms. Like when Vine was bought by Twitter and shut down, people had already started moving over to YouTube with ease and grace that Vine just wilted and failed. And I wonder if TikTok won't have the same experience in the United States. Either these people will switch over to the main app simply by changing the region code of their phone or their app store, or they'll just move to another platform. And it's all about how frictionless all that becomes. If you make it hard enough, people will do something that's easier. Anyway, I wanted to follow up with one last thing. This is from the Bloomberg article. Microsoft chimed in after they had been rejected, just to make sure that the United States understood that it was prepared to make changes aimed at addressing U.S. national security concerns. And they're quoted as saying, to do this, we would have made significant changes to ensure the service met the highest standards for security, privacy, online safety, and combating disinformation. And we made these principles clear in our August statement. We look forward to seeing how the service evolves in these important areas. And I know that Microsoft, I feel this deep in my soul. Microsoft has made this statement basically just pointing the finger at Larry Ellison, at Oracle, going, you guys don't know how to do any of this stuff because you're a corporate database, and the reason you've won is because Trump, you're a big supporter of Trump, and this has become a political issue. I know that what Microsoft is saying is that you don't play in the consumer space, and it's going to be interesting to see if the TikTok can exist in the first place as a side American project owned by an American company, but then also to be able to meet these requirements to not be a security risk, because the industry's battling with this in general with every application. And Microsoft is at the forefront of that. Oracle's not even in the game. I don't know if anybody would like to comment on that. I just found it humorous what Microsoft had to say. Well, that's what one of my topics looks like. Anybody? I didn't mean to leave people speechless. You know, the next couple of weeks, it might be a good time to pick up Oracle stock. Oh, wait, no. I am not the one. Hey, Chester, you got any opinions on Oracle stock right now?
No comment.
No comment. I should be like Chester and just keep my mouth shut.
Well, last week I installed Lastpass and entered all of my passwords. So now I'm going to have to encrypt them. I guess that's my next step.
Well, actually, they should already be encrypted, Kathleen.
Oh, you don't have to go back and encrypt each one.
You don't have to do any of that. When you use that master password, That's when
Yeah.
the encryption is happening. And so if you haven't signed in, then they're all encrypted in this big data blob. And when you sign in with your LastPass master password, then that blob gets decrypted for your use in your websites.
Really?
Yeah.
So my passwords that were fairly simple are now very complex.
Well, because they're hidden behind that complex, that one password. Now,
Okay.
Now, I do think that you should change simple passwords to more complex passwords. But that's on the level of the services that you're in. So you that's a Facebook thing. That's a .com thing, a Google, a Gmail thing. It's not a LastPass thing, but LastPass can help you with it. And LastPass can help you with it by going to change your password and then suggesting a very complex password. And that's how
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I don't have to go to each account and change my password then.
You don't have to. But if you have very simple passwords, then I recommend you change them to more complex passwords, just in general, regardless of using LastPass, because simple passwords are easy to break. And then, and you may not want to do this right away using LastPass. You may. What I've found is I've just sort of like drifted into LastPass. I've just kind of like rolling down a hill. I've gone into LastPass. So I wasn't in a hurry. The last thing I would want is for you to go and change every password to be more complex, and then you go to your iPad and it's not working. You go to your phone and it's not working, and all you want to do is be able to type in your simple password, but you don't have that anymore because you made them more complex. To a world where you have LastPass on these devices and you feel comfortable with LastPass in those locations, and then gradually start making your passwords more complex. And LastPass. Oh, go ahead.
So Scott, it says once you're done with that, you should print them up and put them in your safe. I can't figure out where you go to print them up.
LastPass gave you that advice?
Yes.
Oh, that's...
When I went to, it was actually a video. It was a video that was attached to LastPass on, the ins and outs of working with it.
I'm wondering, if, for some reason I'm thinking I saw a LastPass export feature, but I didn't pay any attention to it. Do I dare open up LastPass right now? I'm making a note of it because we may have to talk about it again next week, but there may be a feature for printout that we're just not seeing in the app. I'm trying to bring it up right now. Chester, did you have something you were going to say there?
To Kathleen, what I have done is I keep a list of all my passwords on an external drive that I remove from the computer. And then I print from that, and that's using one of the spreadsheets, our Word, and then I remove that external drive, and I print out all my passwords on a piece of paper and put that with my will.
Okay, so you take all the information from LastPass and put it on an external drive, and then you print that external drive.
Right.
Okay.
But this isn't. Those aren't LastPass movements. This is Chester's way of dealing with passwords. Am I right?
That's correct. I'm not using their service. I'm just.
Okay.
I have 2 pages of passwords, and all the stuff that goes with it. And I put on an external hard drive, and then I print that out and put it with my will, or put it in your safe.
Sure. I've done it that way, but I was convinced after you all suggested LastPass and doing some homework on it, that it was a great encryption tool. And so I did it, hours of changing everything. But then one of the videos, one of the teaching videos that accompanied LastPass mentioned printing it out and putting it with a will or putting it in a safe place. And that I couldn't find.
I really think that function exists, to get a printout of all the passwords. Oh, and mine is finally starting to come up now. For some reason, my system was, well, not for some reason, because I'm running 2 video streams and trying to record this at the same time. So my computer's barely keeping up with me. But I've finally gotten it open. And there is probably something here. I'm just not seeing it right off the top of my head. But I bet if we dug through these, and maybe even in your training, it would have said how. Oh, here it is. It's under Advanced Export. Asks me for my master password. I'm not doing this on screen. I don't know what to expect. Except the fact that while we're in club, I've forgotten my master password.
I have a question about that.
Which therefore negates the whole point of having LastPass.
What's that? Forgetting your password?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just thinking, Judy. That would be what I would do. Scott, do you have to install or download LastPass on every device?
Well, I recommend it. If you're using LastPass, that's where you really get the advantage.
Okay, and then you have a master password. So as I understand it, when I go to something like my banking or whatever, some sort of an icon comes up.
Yeah, and how well it's integrated into into the app that's been provided. When you're using like your phone or your tablet, on your PC, it's very straightforward. You can go to the website. It will try and fill out the password and username for you in the classic sense that you've seen username and passwords be saved for a website. And LastPass will do that for you. On the apps, however...
But didn't you tell us that Apple products keychain is the same type of thing as is LastPass?
It is. It's very similar to that kind of thing. You have to be using Safari when it comes to the websites.
No, you don't.
With the keychain? No,
you don't.
Well, you want to have those available across your devices.
Right, but I don't use Safari very often.
And so you do every time you use your iPhone or your iPad.
No, I don't. I have Firefox on them.
But are you really using Firefox for password management?
Yes.
Yeah?
Because when I go to a website,
But I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Are you really using the keychain for password management with It's Firefox you're talking about, right? Firefox.
I use Firefox. I use Google Chrome, both on my iPad.
Okay, so Google Chrome, I know, uses Google to synchronize your passwords.
Because I really don't use...
not your keychain.
Right, but when I'm asked on a website, do you want me to save this in your keychain? I kind of assume that that's where it's saving it when I look at them.
Okay, all right. Well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It seems like...
I could be wrong.
But keychain just...
It could be a good question. I'm going to write it down, and if I remember, I'll look it up for next week.
But isn't it just that all it does is keeps your password, like Google, like it it asks me if I want to save my password, and I can save passwords, but it doesn't encrypt them.
The
Well, it
keychain
does
does.
if you use your thumb or your face for your whatever that's called, security.
Touch, yeah, okay.
Use face recognition, or I use my fingerprint.
We just had somebody join us, Elizabeth. Good morning. You don't happen to know if Keychain saves other than Safari passwords like Firefox or Chrome? I did just write the note though. And I'll check it out and see. It seems like in the past, and my Apple information can get antiquated because there's so much to keep track of, but in the past the keychain was all Apple services. But you're right, it seems like there's a dialogue now where it asks if you want things saved in a keychain, and they're not necessarily Apple applications. So I think it's a good thing to check out. Make sure we know what's going on. What I do like about LastPass, and I don't like about Apple Keychain, is that it's working everywhere. So it's working on all. These people must be popping in from Facebook. They are. LastPass is available on your Android devices.
¡Pausa! ¡Ya!
Ah.
Aquí estoy jugando mi Madagascar. Pero ustedes qué van a saber, concha tu madre. ¿Ah?
Hey, we
¿Qué van a
just
saber,
got.
pues? ¿Ah? ¡Ya!
We just got Zoom bombed. That's the sign we've really come full circle here with the computer club being a virtual meeting.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, you're coming in great. Is that Stanley?
It is.
Did you want to chime in on this conversation about LastPass?
You know, I just finished breakfast. I've been signed in for a while, but I just finished breakfast. I just came to the table now.
Well, we're happy to have you with us. Is that the same name?
So what is the discussion?
Oh, so we're talking about LastPass versus other systems.
We close. In vain we jump. Never ask. Yes, I fell under your spell.
Should I let him keep going?
No one could deny. Don't you ever say.
Adios. Hey, that you gotta admit that's kind of entertaining. We sure haven't had that kind of experience yet.
So maybe Facebook was the best idea.
Say that again.
Well, I've had an unusual problem with my telephone, as you all know, and it seems like it's come down to perhaps a bad SIM card that's mixing everything up.
It's Oh, here we go. Adios. Adios.
Wow, you have some interesting problems yourself, don't you?
Isn't that? This just keeps going and going and going.
Well, that's a first for me. I've never seen that before.
Well, it's been a problem that teachers have been dealing with, especially when we went into the emergency lockdown and they were just using tools like this. They're using free tools. And so these Zoom meetings and meets were getting. I mean, I'm surprised at how free these people are feeling about jumping into this meeting, since it's all very tracked. Like you can see their Google accounts right there getting in there, whereas Zoom meetings, any stranger can get in. Whereas this, you have to have a Google account, so they're feeling comfortable just using their Google accounts to jump into our meeting.
Weren't they from Facebook?
Well, no, I mean, they probably got the information from Facebook, since we're streaming on Facebook, but they're using Google accounts because you can't get into this meet without a Google account, and you can't get in unless I let you in. And I made the mistake of just not hitting deny. I thought it might be people that were interested in joining us, but apparently they're people that are interested in screwing with us.
So when I click join, do you know that it's me that's trying to join?
That's right, Stanley. It says Stanley wants to join the meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So getting back to that SIM card situation, I was not able to get data from Consumer Cellular, and they tried everything and nothing would work. So I called Samsung, and they said, let's replace the SIM card. And if that doesn't do it, they're going to send me down to a Samsung facility and they're going to fix my phone.
Well, that's great. And I've actually had that experience myself in a couple of different ways. I've had a SIM card that was determined broken. And I don't know how you break a SIM card, but they just, it worked and worked and worked and worked. And all of a sudden I lost service. I worked for years. In fact, if I remember the story right, I was actually in Alaska and all of a sudden I lost Mexican cell phone service. And I had to get all the way back to Mexico to find out that my Telcel SIM card had just, fried. It just stopped working. And they gave me a new card and it worked. And then I had another experience, actually prior to the one I just described, where I was moving a SIM card through upgrades. I'd bought a new phone, stuck in a new SIM card. Bought a new phone, stuck in the same SIM card. And I reached a point in the upgrade where everything had been working and I had no complaints. And then a few weeks later, there was some portion that wasn't working. I'm having trouble remembering whether it was text message. It was something like text messages weren't working, or I wasn't able to get into my voicemail. It was something on that nature. And I brought it into the Telcel office, and they're like, "Oh, this is an old SIM card. You need an updated SIM card for the phone you're using. This phone will only work correctly on our networks with this modern SIM card."
That might be very similar to my problem. I believe the SIM card is like messy. I can make telephone calls and get telephone calls. I'm being out of my Wi-Fi system, but when it comes to data, forget about it.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think that that's a technical problem. I think that's a carrier problem. I think I'm speculating, but I think of SIM cards very much the same way you think of the phone line you plug a phone into. It shouldn't matter what phone it is. As long as you plug it in, it should work. A SIM card is a virtual version of that. You would think that it would be able to. But I think that there's equipment that comes online, and the carrier wants to be able to control that specific equipment. And so that's when you need a different SIM card. But that's all my own conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it was a situation where they actually did 3 resets on the data, including retyping in all the special, necessary things, which I had someone help me naturally. And even with that, it wouldn't work. And then they suggested I replace the phone. But instead, I called Samsung and they said, replace the SIM card first. And then if it still doesn't work, then bring it to our facility and they will fix it up, whatever it is.
Well, awesome. I hope you get a resolution to that issue.
Yeah, They sent it by email. They sent it by mail, so I'm getting it on Monday. The SIM card.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I hope that's the case. And SIM cards do go bad for no apparent reason. I mean, they just, maybe climate, maybe some update they were pushing. I don't know. But they do go bad sometimes. What else do we have on the top? Do we want to go back to my topic list? I don't want to bore anybody with what I find interesting. There is...
I downloaded the entire seasons of Poldark, and it was a tremendous undertaking. But I also use a program called Handbrake, and it takes like a 10 gigabyte file and reduces it down to 1 gigabyte and things like that. And that's what I've been doing. So I now have like all 5 seasons for about maybe 15 or something gigabytes.
That's great. The Handbrake is awesome software. Has anybody done any of moving videos around on different devices to carry with you? Because Handbrake is a real good solution for it. I know that my buddy Sid there, he goes out into the bush where he can't get internet coverage, and he might find some use from being able to, well, I know him, he carries around a 2 terabyte hard drive full of content, which with the right adapter now, Sid, I think you can plug that into your iPhone.
Yeah, we're up to a 4 terabyte drive.
How big are you carrying around now?
Terabytes.
4 terabytes of video content, video and audio content. And that's just because in the Alaskan bush, there's so many mountains that you can't rely on internet access.
Well, I had an unusual situation with Benny Hill. I downloaded all the seasons for Benny Hill, and it wouldn't play on my smart TV. But when I went ahead and put it on a Handbrake and just redid it from I think MP4 to MKV, then it started to work fine without any problems. I was getting foreign languages before, and then it took all that away, and it just really did a beautiful job. And also, if you are that Poldark, that season 5 had subtitles, and you can get rid of subtitles with that Handbrake as well.
Yeah, a Handbrake is amazing. I became really familiar with it using it for DVDs because you could strip subtitles, you could strip out alternate audio languages, you could downgrade the video to fit a very specific screen. And I actually did a lot of that stuff when the kids were really little because I had little candy bar phones like the old Nokias. And I would stick cartoons in these phones so I could hand them to a kid that was crying and they could watch Pingu on this little 3-inch. But to get it into that phone back in that day, you really had to turn a multi-gigabyte file into this little like 10 to 15 megabyte file. We may have to change our meet number for next week. I may have done us a disservice by putting us on Facebook Live because that's got to be where they're getting the meet code. In fact, I got a ticker on our video here that I can just turn that off and hopefully they will leave us alone. They keep trying to get in. If I see a name I recognize, I'll let them in, but but I'm seeing all these Mexican names pop up wanting access to this meeting. That's not racist.
Did you kick Judy out, though?
Did I kick Judy out? Judy, are you there? I didn't mean to. Judy,
she's gone. She said something about...
Say that again, Cheryl.
Well, she was talking about the phone, and then all of a sudden she was gone.
I did see her pop.
Did you get a series, name for this series to put on the list?
Say that again, Chester.
Yeah, Stanley recorded a series, and I'm hoping we put the name of it on the list that you're putting.
I will. This is that show that Judy had recommended, Poldark, and this became a one of our topics because she was wondering if she would be able to watch it in Mexico. She was watching it on one service and wanted to know what service in Mexico would be available.
Hey.
I will stick it on today's list as well. I think we've had it on before, but I'll put it on today's meeting as well. I have a list of topics that we can work from, and I have got another easy, fast one, which is a little sad, but The Verge has an article right now about what they're calling the first death directly related to cybersecurity attacks. I don't know if you guys saw this, but a hospital in Düsseldorf ransomware attack, and it had shut down their systems and required their emergency room to redirect patients 20 miles away. And they're in an investigation right now to see if that's the sole reason that this woman wouldn't have survived, is because she couldn't get into that emergency room because of the ransomware attack. This has been an issue in security circles for a long time. They've been warning hospitals, healthcare, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was last year the NHS was shut down for a number of days. They were doing things by pencil and paper because of a ransomware attack. Fortunately, they have no deaths that they could attribute to their network going down. But this is this might be internet famous. This might be that first time somebody has died because of malware or viruses. There is a report that says that the hospital wasn't the intended victim, that the ransomware note that was left on the computers was referring to a university that's around the corner, which kind of screams not an internet attack, but maybe a USB attack. Maybe somebody brought it in. But who knows? Maybe the fact that there's a university around the corner, maybe they've got transitional people that work at the hospital and do classes at the university. Maybe it was brought in, but the note was specifically for the university. When the attackers realized that they had brought down the hospital, they put it back up. So I don't know what to make of that. That sounds like a very intimate relationship with the attacking, which I don't typically associate. I normally think of these ransomware attacks as being a blanket attacks. They're just looking to get people, and I look at it as large scale. I look at it as algorithms. But if they were able to, if they were able to announce, hey, this is a hospital, and the hospital was returned to working order, that sounds like a pretty intimate relationship between attacking and attackers. Anyway, it's a fast read. It's on The Verge. I'll put a link to it. I don't know how you guys feel about that kind of stuff. I see Fred's lips moving, but I don't hear anything.
No, I'd like to see it.
Sure, Jim. I'll make sure it's out there on the website. It's just, this is the future that we're dealing with. Is these devices? I guess what a hospital, what all industries need is a security department that's vetting these where that's important to be on the internet and where it's not important to be on the internet. Go ahead, Fred.
There's a couple of. I digress. We were talking about things to watch. One is Death in Paradise.
Oh, yes.
Good one.
Death in Paradise.
What's it about?
What's it about, Fred?
What's it about? It's about a Caribbean island. They send a British detective over there, and he's in charge of their police department.
Oh wow!
And the small, it's kind of like watching Jessica Fletcher, the small island. They get more murders there in a season.
It's like Angela Lansbury's numbers of murders.
Fred, what do you watch it on?
What do I watch it on?
Mm-hmm.
Good. I don't remember.
Okay.
It comes up on Friday nights here on public broadcasting.
Oh, so is it PBS that you're watching it on?
NPR then?
Well, that's where I've been watching it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of where else. Who else had it on?
Fred, where are you?
At the moment, I'm in Washington.
Okay, so in the U.S.
Yes.
I think it's still on Amazon Prime.
I'm trying to look it up right now. There's a website, and
I like it. I think it's a good series, a funny series.
There's a website and an app called Just Watch.
Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
There's another one, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Another good one, yeah.
Wait, you're moving too fast. Miss Fisher's, I gotta write it down.
Oh, that one's a in the 20s in Australia. And the cars and the whoever did the finding the equipment and everything that's in the show, it's the timing is great. The cars are right, the buildings are right.
Okay. I hate to interrupt. I just want to go back to where to watch. There's an app and a website called Just Watch, and I looked it up for Death in Paradise. And at least in Mexico, it's available through Amazon Prime. No, it's available on Amazon. It's available on Hoopla. I guess wasn't Cheryl telling us about Hoopla the other day?
Yeah.
It's available on Apple TV. You can also get it in the Google Play Store as well as Vudu. It seems like all the seasons are not available in a... Well, it looks like if there's 9 seasons, there's 9 seasons of this show. There's 9 seasons on Apple TV, and then it's sporadic on all the other services. Amazon has 7. Hoopla has 4. Fandango has 6 seasons, and Microsoft has 1 season.
So along with the same genre is Grantchester and Father Brown.
Father Brown is very good also, yes. What was the other one?
Grantchester. And I think they're through the BBC.
Okay.
I think we should start calling Chester Grantchester.
It's also
Doc Martin.